Hello everyone. This is the 21st part of the story, Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Chapter 101. Headaches were things I was used to. I had two. In Tartarus they were a norm, but not to this level, not like this. Feeling as if something or someone was ripping my head in half with nothing but pure pressure. It was a very unique and bizarre feeling of disorientation. It was awful, like walking on haze, with everything around me in slow motion. At times I would hear voices, the voices of Odin, Hestia, and Sun Wukong around me. Other times I would feel as if I was in a bed with my eyes closed, unable to move or talk, in a prison of my own making, and most of the times I would simply feel as if I was walking through the motions, with me not really being there altogether, not processing or fully understanding what was happening around me, making my surroundings feel foreign. Was this somehow connected to the souls I had recently consumed? Was this the consequence of completely disregarding the life of others? Or was it something else? If so, what? What could possibly make me feel so lost, so unsure, so divided? Are you, get better please, Honey started, but in the middle of her sentence, her voice changed completely, and instead of hearing her voice, I heard Hestia, asking me to get better. I felt her hands holding mine. What is going on? I was getting mad. There was no other explanation as to why. What did you say? I asked if you were feeling okay. Honey answered, her face looking distressed. As if she wanted to say something else, but decided not to. I lied. What was I supposed to answer? He seemed somewhat conscious. I heard the disembodied voice of Odin stated, almost as if he was standing beside me. You don't look okay, Honey replied, putting her hand softly on my shoulder. Is there anything I can do to, Once again her sentence was abruptly interrupted by someone else, but this time it wasn't Hestia, wake up brother. It was Thor. His voice was full of worry and desperation. I could almost feel as if he was shaking me. In fact, I could feel his hands on my arms. I eyed my arms in shock, trying to understand what was happening, and even though I had visual confirmation nothing was there, that my arms had nothing but my shirt lightly touching them, even with that solid proof, I still felt as a pair of phantom limbs gripped my arms tightly. What the fuck is going on? I muttered, wondering, had I finally gone crazy? I think he is, wake up, leave him. Each word came from a different voice, from a different person, Odin, Hestia, Thor, Sun Wukong, Honey, all of them talking at the same time, making a full sentence of nonsense, that only intensified my headache to celestial levels. Shut up! I screamed with all my might, breaking something, but what? Hestia point of view. Adam had been in bed for days, and had yet to show any signs of waking up. I just couldn't understand why this was affecting him so much. Every god was capable of doing it with ease. And yet, here he was, laying on the bed. This worried me. What if he never woke up? What if, no, he had to get better, he would get better, he promised not to die, get better soon, I begged him, holding his hand to my heart. He should be waking up. Odin muttered, he looks somewhat conscious. I eyed the Norse king with hope as Thor entered the room. Then let's help him. Thor barked, grabbing Adam by the arms, wake up brother. He shouted, his voice full of worry and desperation. I think that won't work, Odin stated. Just leave him. I growled, pushing the Norse god off him, and in commotion, he moved, Adam moved. Shut up! Adam screamed, blasting his bed off with pure mana, and everyone in the room looked at him silently. He had finally woken up. Adam! I breathed out, hugging him. He looked so shocked, confused with his surroundings. His eyes were here and yet looked as if he was seeing through us. Are you okay? I asked, putting my right hand softly on his cheek. Hestia, but how? I was in, Adam muttered, unsure what to say or what to do. It was strange to see him like this. I still am there, but also here. How? Gods can exist in many places at the same time, Adam, Odin stated. You are both here and in hell. I see, Adam muttered, staying silent for a minute before he started laughing. Of course, it makes sense now. Holy shit. He breathed out, finally hugging me back. Yay. Now, there is something you should know. Odin placed a hand on his shoulder, while Thor simply stood behind him, still processing. Adam had finally woken up. Your power is currently divided in half here, half in hell. So I'm currently weaker? Adam asked him, and Odin shook his head. I eyed the Norse god with curiosity. He should be weaker, so I wanted to know why that wasn't the case with him. I told you before, you barely control your power, using but a small part of it, while the rest is left unrestrained, unrefined. So, basically right now, the you of here, and the you of hell, have the same power, but half of the potential, or rather half of the raw material the full you would have. That made sense. If Adam had that much power within him, then creating avatars of him would automatically take power from his reserves, regardless if he knew how to control them or not. I see, Adam hummed. So, can I train, like the me of here and the me of hell, to increase my power twice as fast? He asked them. Yes, you could. Hell is, after all, a place made for this, Odin answered, once again leaving something out. But what? Chapter 102. Adam point of view, main consciousness. I am not gonna lie, this deal of being in 3 places at the same time was confusing, and at the same time, it was not. It was weird how I was able to keep track of everything to the most little detail of what was happening around me, not only in hell, but in Asgard, without having any problems whatsoever. I guess in the end things worked out for me, in a very odd way, Naruto way. Now the question was, what to do. I mean, my goal had drastically changed after discovering my very being was capable of splitting into equally sentient clones of myself, by dividing my power into equal fractions. With this, I no longer needed the princes and their keys to escape hell. I could do it at will. So what was I to do now that leaving was a very easy option? I mean, Odin seemed to think training in hell was a good idea, and considering there weren't many things this place could really offer, besides the princes themselves, led me to believe Odin wanted me to fight them. Besides them, this place had nothing to offer. So knowing Odin like I did, the princes had moved a few numbers in my be careful bitch list. Odin was not one to have others waste time, so under that, I could only assume the princes were powerful enough to challenge and perhaps even beat me if I was cocky. Which in turn meant, Lucifer was out of my league, for now. So with that in mind, I decided it was time to train. Regardless of how powerful the beings of hell really were, I had to learn control. I had to become more than I already was, gaining control over all the power I had. This was a thought Odin himself agreed on, and because of that, did something I didn't expect. He became my teacher, well, of one of my 3 beings. When did I become 3? Well, allow me to elaborate. Odin said that best way now that I was able to split myself was to train in a training triangle. It's a lame name, I know, but bear with me for a second. Each corner of this triangle dealt with something I was lacking right now. My corner was freestyle training, meaning what I did before becoming a god, feeding my creativity. Thor and Sun Wukong would deal with my hand-to-hand and armed combat in their corner, and last but not least Odin. He would guide me in the arcane arts, teaching me how to become a better mage. So, right now, there were 3 Adams across reality. One was in Asgard training with Odin and hanging out with Hestia. The second one was in Brazil, fighting Thor and Sun Wukong in a never-ending battle for supremacy. And the last was in hell, planning in what order he was going to kill the princes of hell. Each Adam had a task that, if completed, would change the balance of power forever. Adam point of view, Asgard. Odin was Not the kind of teacher I would have wanted in high school. Why? Well, because he was one to believe you had to break someone to their very core to actually teach them. And because of that he had forced me back to the bases, and that didn't even mean the mnemonic chapter. No, that would have been easy. No, he was going to the true base of all magic, or as he said, control, theory, and application, or CTA. Control was pretty self-explanatory, not gonna lie, but so were the other steps, so I still gonna explain it. Control meant the capability of a mage to mold, change, transmute and rain his mana. For a mage without control is nothing. Theory was the honey of every mage, and no, I did not mean honey my unwanted slave, it just happened the word I used for my metaphor was also her name. Anywho, without it, what was the point of having control? Theory was supposed to be the knowledge one has accumulated, making things simpler for mages, because the more knowledge one had, the more power one had. Because knowledge was power, and this was something every mage lived by. Application, as the word itself explained, it was the application of step 1 and 2, while adding an extra layer, the application of one's knowledge. You are using too much mana, that is a waste, try to concentrate more. Focus on the feeling inside your chest when you mold the mana necessary to cast a spell, Odin instructed. Alright, I nodded. Adam point of view, hell. Remember when I said Honey had thanked me for saving her from a life of slavery by becoming my slave? Well, that truck of shit doesn't end there, because, in the span of one day, Honey somehow made half of demons of this town, to give a rough estimate, see me as some kind of chosen one, and therefore, did the same as her, pledging their souls and bodies to me. I somehow find the body part more disturbing than the soup. I mean the soul part. So here I was, with hundreds of slaves I didn't even want to, and no idea what to do. Yay, at least one thing was clear. I now cannot have a Twitter account, or any account in social media. I mean, I would probably get cancelled the moment one of my servants commented I was his master. Then again, people might take as some kind of kinky shit. Jokes aside, I had no idea how to proceed. Everything okay? Honey asked, smiling at me. Well, I guess I'm God, I chuckled. I mean, in the 1600s I would have been a popular dude. Because of the slaves? Honey asked. Because of the slaves, I nodded, rolling my eyes at her playfully. Jokes aside, I need to know, how the fuck do we get water here? Through the tunnels laying into the underground, Honey answered, though the only one that gets clean and fresh water in all town is the mayor. The rest don't have the money nor the permission to drink anything clear. Mayor orders, really, no clear water. Was the mayor so desperate to flex his power over them? Damn, no wonder these people see me as their personal messiah. Even a potato would make a better mayor than the last guy. Heck, I even bet their list of requirements for the position was something like breathing, optional. Chapter 103. Adam point of view, hell. It didn't take long before I found myself facing other idiots. I mean, demons on a daily basis that had come to kill me in the hopes of claiming some type of glory for themselves. Needless to say, I dealt with them in a rather quick manner. I had, after all, no time to waste. I was all too busy fixing the situation in the town. The town had problems that even with my magic were difficult to fix or simply not in my best interest to do so with magic. Like the water situation in town. While yes, I could create large amounts of clean drinkable water by transmuting my mana into clean water, that little but useful spell would solve nothing here. I mean, what would happen when I was not around? With that in mind, I decided it was in my best interest to design some type of filter, to turn the water the citizens had access to into something usable. Maybe a transmutation circle with runes to make an automatic transformation by using a portion of mana from each citizen. Nothing was set on stone. And that was one of the simple problems. The other problems I had were, the sinners, what to do with them. It was one of those morally difficult situations. What was I supposed to do with them? Kill them again? They were here for a reason. They had been sentenced to hell for all eternity, to suffer in blood and tears for the sins of their human life. On one hand, if I killed the sinners, I would be in a way liberating them from their suffering, and on the other hand, if I let them be, I would be practically saying I'm okay with what they had done. Perhaps I could filter them by creating a magic system that picks those who did something bad but not irredeemable and letting them live in hell, while killing those whose sins were too big to be allowed to breathe even in the darkest corner of hell. But for me to be able to do that, I would have to literally clap Lucifer out of existence. Why? Well, basically to sort the thousands of souls that enter hell on a daily basis, I need complete control over hell, so that I can magically modify the gates of hell, to sort the souls as they enter. Otherwise, sorting the bad ones from the super bad ones was going to be impossible. So I guess, for now, I would have to wait. It would be a while before I faced the man himself. For now, I would focus on fixing the town, and in learning every single spell available in my book, with Thor and Sun Wukong training me in Brazil, and Odin training with me in Asgard. I decided to divide my time in hell in 3 parts, being a mayor, training with my magic, and practicing what I was learning from Thor and Sun Wukong. As for the latest chapter in my book, I had learned something. The entire chapter was encrypted, with magical runes not even Odin could completely decipher, runes that someone had put in there. Meaning whoever had gifted me this powerful Grimoire had decided this chapter was out of reach for me. What I didn't understand was, why did it show me the chapter then? So far the only one to advance in the book was to somehow master the spells in the current chapter, and if I can't master the spells in the Void chapter, then what? Was the book now nothing but decoration? Was this the end of my journey with the book, or was there another way to unlock new chapters? This was a theory Odin firmly believed, and one that I was started to consider. I mean, the book had showed it had a mind of its own, like when it showed me the spell without a name to save my life. Before I had finished the mnemonic chapter of magic, if the book was capable of going around its own rules, then maybe, just maybe, it had no rules at all, and all I needed was to figure out once and for all, how this damn Grimoire operated. But how? Wait a freaking second, what if the book had purposely showed the Void chapter fully knowing it was locked? What if this had a purpose on its own, like it did when it saved me from death? If so, what could possibly be the reason behind it? The book had to know if it was sentient. I had no idea how to destroy magical runes, not even Odin knew how to, or did I? My weapon, the one I had been recently given, was capable of eating and storing mana, and in theory it should be capable of eating runes, which in their simplest form were letters infused with magic. Snapping my fingers, I summoned my weapon and book to my side, as a feeling of trepidation invaded my senses. If this worked, it would solve my problems for the moment being, and it would show the book was more sentient than I originally thought or wanted. After all, because it would show with irrefutable proof the book knew the capabilities of my weapon and came to the conclusion I had the tools to unlock what had been locked away. Here goes nothing, I sighed, as opened the book right on the encrypted chapter, and proceeded to push the anti-mana effect of my weapon on it. At first sight, the runes seemed to be fighting my weapon, fiercely pushing the anti-mana my weapon was using away, as if they were made for that, which to be honest was a fucking crimson flag. But this little opposition didn't last long, and in a burning flash, the runes had been eaten away, leaving me with 2 questions that, well, terrified me. 1, just how sentient was my book, and 2, just how much the person that had given me this book knew me, to predict I would use anti-mana to destroy what runes they had put, or was that just a happy coincidence? Chapter 104. Time passed in hell with days turning into months, with no much changes in my routine besides the ones I myself imparted, day by day. My morning would start with a few demons demanding to fight, and like always I would deal with them accordingly. This routine however changed, when I got a letter, from no other than one of the overlords of the Pride Ring, Azathet. Not much was known about him in hell, according to Honey, except that he was one to get what he wanted, when he wanted it. In his letter, he would go in great detail explaining how I should bend the knee to him and his prince, or face very descriptive consequences, and I am not even kidding, his letter was around 42 pages long, and described with morbid detail what would happen, like 40 out the 42 pages were this random overlord, having a gory orgasm about what horrors he would inflict in me should I reject accepting his kind offer. Needless to say I sent his messenger with an equally descriptive message that basically could be summarized in one word, fuck you. And with that letter sent, it was time to prepare for what it was to come. So far I had only faced relatively weak demons on the command ladder, but now I had challenged one of the strongest demons according to the hierarchy of this ring, and soon would find out how strong I was compared to quote, the big dogs. PFFF, don't get me wrong, I was sure I was going to win against the overlord with ease. Heck, maybe even I would even teabag the poor idiot before making him watch a documentary about documentaries. So I wasn't really questioning my strength there. No. My angle was another. I wanted to see by fighting the second strongest rank in hell to see how I fared in terms of power against the famous Leviathan, the Prince of Pride. Defeating an overlord would give me a more accurate idea of where I stood in the ladder compared to the fodder I had eliminated so far. This volunteer would help me further understand how things worked around here. And, after that, I guess I would go ahead and kill the prince once I confirmed I was strong enough to deal with him, and then do the same with each prince until I get to the final boss, Lucifer. For now I would enjoy my three-way training, and oh god, I just realized how dirty that sounds. Oh well. Lucifer point of view. A Greek brat had fallen into my realm. What a unexpected conundrum, one that I knew how to deal with, killing him. The kid was growing in power alarmingly fast, and by the looks of it would threaten my reign if I let this little fire grow out of control. He had even started to challenge overlords. It wouldn't be long before he started to fight and kill my princes, and frankly, getting used to new princes was too much work. So the brat had to die. I'll be back in a few, Lilith, I stated, kissing the first woman God created. Where are you going? Lilith inquired with a soft giggle. I have a Greek brat to kill, I chuckled, giving her one last kiss, before something pushed me to my knees. An ancient power that I hadn't felt in a long time. He was here, that monster? No, you won't. That voice, that power, this cold suffocating feeling, there was no doubt it was him. You see, that brat is my kid, and while I don't normally go out of my way to protect him, I can't just simply let you kill what it's mine. Frankly, Lucy, one would think ruling hell would make less prone to fuck things up, he chuckled. You think? You can come here and tell me what to do? I roared, pushing myself up with great struggle, only to be forced back into my knees. Yes. I think I can, he laughed. You see, Lucy, power is everything. Those in power set the rules, and control everything. And unfortunately for you, he grabbed my head with one hand, his eyes black and cold. I am leagues above you, child, so, for your sake, leave my kid alone. He then smiled, patting me on the head. Besides, he will eventually come to you, so, be patient and wait. If you kill him when he comes, well, he shrugged, it would mean he was not worthy of being my seed, but to be honest, I don't think you will win, Lucy. He is after all, my son. Ragel point of view. I owed Odin a favor, but not this, not dealing with that monster. Did Odin know that child was the son of that? Of course he knew, he had to. Well, hello there, the monster whispered to my ear. Let me guess, visiting Lucy? or perhaps, doing Odin a favor? He laughed. What was I supposed to do now? This bastard was beyond what humans say my pay grade. Don't be so tense. I came here to tell you, don't interfere with the events that are about to unfold in hell. You don't scare me, I stated, sounding far less confident than I wanted. You could have fooled me, he chuckled. Our Father is just, and should it be needed, he will stop you. I hissed. At this he broke into a fit of laughter. Sure, he could. Not many beings can kill me, him and Chaos are one of the few, but you must be stupid to think your father will do anything. He has been sleeping for eons, and when he was awake did nothing to stop me, so how about you start being realistic, and shut the fuck up? Can you? I glared at the monster, before teleporting to Asgard. Odin owned me. A few explanations. Chapter 105. Ragel Point of View. After meeting with that monster, I decided to go to Asgard immediately. Odin the Asgardian king owed me some answers. One thing was that I owed him a favor for what he did for us 1,000 years ago, and another was that he completely disregarded my life, throwing me into the abyss itself. Handling Lucy, that was easy, relatively speaking. Handling that monster, not so much. Odin. I screamed as I entered the throne room, where Odin was sitting alone, the room empty for the most part. It was never my intention to put you at risk, Odin muttered. I just didn't foresee his arrival. He wasn't supposed to be there, and for that, I am sorry. I don't care much about what you saw. I roared in anger. Why did he have to withhold information? If that monster wasn't one to play with his food, I would be dead by now. You completely disregarded my life and my safety by throwing me into this fucking mess. Perhaps, Odin acknowledged. We should just kill that kid, I stated. A son of that evil being could only be evil at its truest. I will not do or allow you to do such a thing. Odin growled. You are playing with fire, Odin. I shot back. If that kid ever learns of his heritage, life as we know will cease to exist. I am dealing with that, Odin sighed. If handled correctly, I can stop the end of times. Wishful thinking, I scoffed. Was he really so naive to think he had the power and the ability to control the spawn of the crawling chaos? If the kid finds out that the only thing limiting his power is his lack of understanding about himself, we will fall. Are you deaf, brat? Odin roared. I shan't allow it. Once Gabriel finds out about this. I paused, taking a deep breath. We will wage war against the kid, and all of those who stand in our way to vanquish his existence. You saw him. Do you really think heaven has the firepower to kill his dad if he so decides to intervene on his behalf? Odin chuckled bitterly. That monster is unpredictable, and if he so decides, he can wipe not only my pantheon, but yours. God will not allow it, I stated. Our Father, our Creator was ever so merciful, and I knew he would defend us should the heavens cry for it. He can, Odin nodded, but you know how those primal gods are, always sleeping, always away. He did say that, I muttered, that our Father would not interfere. Do what you must, Ragel, Odin sighed. I brought you into this, and I accept the consequences of my actions, but know that Asgard stands by him. Noted. With that, I teleported back to heaven, where I would tell my brothers and sisters about Adam. Odin point of view. That monster had made his move earlier than I had foreseen, and thanks to that I was lost for the first time in centuries. Adam would soon know about his heritage, and things would change. I had seen such a future, one that cannot be avoided. In that future the only thing I could see was his father congratulating him, not sure why or what he was congratulating. Regardless of the reason, this shouldn't be happening right now. In my previous visions, they met 10 years from now, after he killed Hestia to make his son lose completely the light within him, resulting in the end of the world. Which is why I wanted Adam to become strong enough to deal with the crawling chaos when the time came. But now, All I could do was watch and see what the outer god was scheming, and try to plan around that, but something didn't feel right. How was he going to tempt Adam? I had Hestia safe and out of his reach, and as long as I had Hestia safe and sound, there wasn't much he could do to tempt Adam. Then again, I don't know what I expected. Nyarlathotep, or the crawling chaos, it's a being specially known for his unpredictability. Not even the members of his pantheon that is filled with evils as old as time itself can predict his motives, or even begin to comprehend his mad reasoning. I suppose it was to be expected. After all, he differs from every deity in his pantheon a lot, making him an even bigger threat to begin with. Most of the gods on his pantheon are evil without a real motive, but him? If he blinks, there is a reason behind for it, the ever-scheming monster of the abyss, the fucking spawn of Azathoth. Even in the way he interacts with humans and gods, he would show his unpredictable nature, playing with them using lies and misdirection to trick them into a false sense of security, usually under the guise of a human. Like a predator, waiting for his prey, he enjoys human suffering, comparing it to a great song. But like a great song, he considers that it should be prolonged, which is one of the reasons he uses a human disguise instead of one of this 1,000 other forms or manifestations that are usually most reputed for being quite horrific and sanity-blasting, which he considers it's not fun. Adam, I muttered, I hope you are ready to face what you really are, otherwise, the end is near. Adam point of view. 2 days from now, I would face the demon who had demanded me to bend the knee, and I couldn't help but admit I was a tad excited. Not for the reason many might think, it's just that, once I killed the overlord, I would gain a reputation. Meaning no more challenges from people beneath that rank. So yay. Honey, prepare by tea-bagging pants, I chuckled as evilly godly possible. I will, like every mature COD player, teabag the guy after killing him. Even that moron gets closer to your junk? Honey muttered. This marks the end of part 21 of the story, Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.